Panem is a nation born from the ashes of war, ruled by a capital that survives by turning suffering into spectacle. In the years following rebellion, control is enforced not through armies, but through fear, and fear is perfected through the Hunger Games. From the earliest days of the games, we witness how power is shaped, how morality erodes, and how ambition transforms people into weapons. This chronological story follows the rise of Coriolanus Snow, the evolution of the Hunger Games, and the slow-burning rebellion sparked by a girl from District 12. Across 5 films, alliances are broken, sacrifices are made, and a nation is pushed to its breaking point. This is the complete timeline of the Hunger Games, from its darkest origins to its violent end. The Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, is set in a future where a series of ecological disasters and global wars destroy modern civilization, leading North America to become a new nation called Panem. Panem is divided into the capital, where the wealthy and powerful reside, and 13 surrounding districts that are forced to supply labor and resources. The capital rules the districts with cruelty, which eventually leads to a civil war known as the First Rebellion, led by District 13. After 3 years of fighting, the rebellion fails. District 13 is destroyed, and a dark period known as the Dark Days begins. During this time, 2 upper-class children run through the empty streets, desperately searching for food. They are suddenly chased by a wild dog, and the boy throws an object to distract it so they can escape. The children hide behind a statue and witness a man cutting up a dead body to eat the flesh. Shocked and terrified, they later return home to their grandmother, who delivers more tragic news. The boy's father has been killed by rebels from District 12. 3 years later, the Dark Days come to an end when the capital introduces the Treaty of Treason to restore order. As punishment, the treaty establishes the annual Hunger Games, a violent event where 2 teenagers from each district are forced to fight to the death. The games serve as a reminder that rebellion will never be tolerated. 10 years after the treaty, the boy Coriolanus lives with his grandmother and his cousin Tigris. Once a respected family, they have fallen into poverty after losing their factory during the war. Despite this, they struggle to maintain appearances to avoid being cast out of the capital. Coriolanus studies hard at the academy, hoping to earn a university scholarship and escape a life of hard labor. As the 10th Hunger Games approach, he joins the mentor program, where students are assigned to guide district tributes. Head game maker Gaul arrives to introduce Dean Casca, the troubled creator of the games. With public interest fading, Casca makes it clear that the tributes must now entertain the audience, not simply survive. Now the rules for the university scholarship change. Instead of being awarded for the best grades, the prize will now go to the student who proves to be the best mentor. Soon after, the students watch the reaping ceremony on large screens as 1 boy and 1 girl are selected from each district. As each tribute is chosen, Dean Casca assigns them to a mentor. Coriolanus is disappointed when he learns he has been given the girl from District 12, a district known for its poverty and weak chances of survival in the games. The girl is Lucy. As she walks toward the stage, she stops to drop a snake down the blouse of Mayfair, who had mocked her earlier. When Lucy reaches the platform, the mayor strikes her for hurting his daughter, forcing the peacekeepers to step in and remove him. The crowd begins singing in support of Lucy, and she boldly joins in. When she ends the song with a sharp insult, the audience laughs, and Coriolanus realizes she may have real potential. Later, the tributes travel to the capital by train. Coriolanus greets Lucy with a flower in an attempt to earn her trust, but she calmly eats one of the petals, unimpressed. When another tribute causes trouble, the guards give chase and Coriolanus sneaks into the truck transporting the tributes. Inside, the group immediately turns on him, clearly resenting his fine clothes and capital status. Reaper threatens to kill him, and the others support it, until Lucy reminds them they would all be executed if they did. The truck suddenly stops and the doors open to reveal a cage. The tributes are placed inside a zoo where visitors stare at them like animals. A reporter notices Coriolanus and pulls him into an interview with Lucy. Together, they put on a strong display. Lucy charms the children and explains she comes from a traveling group stranded in District 12 after the war. Coriolanus also performs well, but the peacekeepers soon remove him before he leaves. Lucy asks him to bring food, explaining that some tributes haven't eaten in days. Later at the academy, Casca scolds Coriolanus for breaking the rules, but Dr. Gaul views his actions as a clever and effective performance. Sejanus then speaks up, arguing that the Hunger Games are immoral, and that the tributes are treated as objects instead of people. This sparks an idea in Coriolanus. He suggests that the public should be allowed to get to know the tributes before the games begin. If viewers feel connected, they will be more invested and eager to watch, and they might even start betting on the outcome. Gaul tells him to put the idea into a formal written proposal. After class, Coriolanus and Sejanus bring food to the tributes being held at the zoo. Sejanus's tribute, Marcus, refuses the food out of fear, but Lucy accepts Coriolanus's offering. Coriolanus is annoyed when she shares it with the others, yet the two still talk and begin to form a bond. Nearby, a tribute is being mocked by her mentor, who cruelly dangles water in front of her. The tribute suddenly grabs the bottle and stabs the mentor in the throat. Panic breaks out as people flee. Coriolanus rushes to his dying classmate's side and watches helplessly until the peacekeepers arrive, shoot the tribute, and drag him away. The following day, Coriolanus submits his proposal, including the idea that viewers can send supplies to tributes through donations. During class, Casca announces that the tributes will be presented on live television that evening and gives the mentors an hour to prepare them. He wants Lucy to sing to win over the audience, so she asks Coriolanus for a guitar. Later, Coriolanus is summoned to Gaul's office and is joined by his classmate Clemencia, his project partner. The office is filled with jars of mutated creatures, including a tank of colorful snakes Gaul has been breeding. Clemencia attempts to take credit for the proposal, and Gaul reveals it has fallen into the snake tank. She orders Clemencia to retrieve it. The snakes only remain calm around familiar scents, and when Clemencia reaches in, they attack her. As assistants rush to give an antidote, Gaul calmly tells Coriolanus that she approves of his ideas. Sometime later, the mentors and tributes are allowed 15 minutes inside a massive dome that will serve as the arena for the games. Without warning, explosions rip through the walls, followed by the collapse of the ceiling. Debris crashes down everywhere, killing many people as chaos breaks out. Some tributes try to escape while Coriolanus becomes trapped beneath the rubble. Just in time, Lucy returns and pulls him free as his jacket catches fire. Moments later, peacekeepers drag her away, and Coriolanus loses consciousness. He wakes up in the hospital with Sejanus and Tigris at his side. They explain that a rebel bombing caused the destruction, murdering 4 tributes and leaving 1 mentor on life support. Marcus has escaped and peacekeepers are hunting him down, though Sejanus believes he may be safer on the run. Soon after, the tribute presentation airs on television. Coriolanus watches as Lucy performs a moving song with her guitar, bringing many viewers to tears. Later, he visits the ruined dome to study the arena and discovers several hidden tunnels. When he returns home, he finds a dead rat and realizes how powerful the household poison is. He takes some and hides it inside his late mother's compact mirror. Coriolanus then goes to the zoo to warn Lucy about the tunnels and hands her the mirror. He promises that he wants her to survive. Overcome with emotion, Lucy tries to kiss him, but he gently turns away and wipes her face with his handkerchief. The next day, the remaining tributes are escorted into the arena while the mentors gather at the academy with Casca and the game's host, who carries an envelope predicting the winner. As the tributes are forced into their starting positions, Marcus is revealed hanging from the dome as a warning from the capital. This pushes Sejanus to his breaking point, and he calls everyone monsters before storming out. After the countdown ends, the Hunger Games begin, with tributes scattering in all directions. Some focus on hiding while others immediately turn on each other. As the violence unfolds, one of Coriolanus's classmates vomits at the sight of it. Coriolanus silently hopes Lucy will run and hide, but instead she stays behind to look for Jessup, her fellow tribute from District 12. One by one, tributes are killed and their mentors angrily leave the academy. Lucy weaves through the chaos, narrowly avoiding attack after attack. When she finally spots Jessup, she tries to reach him, but other tributes keep blocking her path. She manages to dodge them all and gets to him, finding him badly injured and clearly unwell after being beaten with a bat on the journey to the capital. Lucy leads Jessup into one of the tunnels beneath the arena, unaware that cameras are hidden inside. Soon, other tributes follow them down, forcing the pair to slip through a hole in a locked door. One tribute reaches through the opening and grabs Jessup's leg, but more attackers suddenly arrive and kill those already in the corridor, including the one holding onto him. The remaining tributes hesitate, fearing Lucy might strike back and retreat to the main arena. For several hours, nothing happens as the tributes hide and plan. Many mentors grow bored, with some even falling asleep while the host fills time by discussing the weather. The calm breaks when Lamina approaches Marcus, who is still alive and begging for mercy. She kills him with an axe, earning donations from viewers. Her mentor sends her water, but the drone crashes and the bottle shatters at her feet. That night, vultures descend to feed on the bodies. As Coriolanus watches, Casca warns him that he will do anything to stop him from winning and tells him to act quickly. In the tunnel, Lucy finds running water and offers it to Jessup, but he refuses, fearing it is unsafe. Hours later, Coriolanus is abruptly awakened by Gaul, who reveals that Sejanus has entered the arena to mourn Marcus according to his district's customs. Gaul refuses to send peacekeepers, saying it would prove the rebels right, and promises Coriolanus the prize if he handles the situation without hesitation. Coriolanus enters the arena and carefully moves past the bodies until he reaches Marcus. Coriolanus explains that Gaul has cut the broadcast feed, meaning no one can see Sejanus's act of mourning. He warns that if Sejanus is killed, Gaul will simply tell the public he died from an illness. Before Sejanus can decide what to do, a tribute suddenly appears and begins chasing them. The two boys run, but Sejanus trips, allowing the tribute to catch up. Coriolanus fights back using nearby debris and ends up killing the attacker. More tributes appear behind them, forcing the boys to flee again. They manage to reach the gate just in time, and Sejanus is safely taken away by his parents. From that moment on, Coriolanus earns their trust and gratitude. Later, Coriolanus returns home and confesses to Tigris that he has killed someone. He admits that while he felt sick with guilt at first, the feeling was quickly replaced by a sense of power. The next morning, Coriolanus returns to the academy with Tigris as his guest. The host announces that another tribute has died during the night but refuses to reveal how, allowing viewers to assume it happened naturally during the games. Only 10 tributes remain. Inside the arena, Jessup becomes delirious from his injury and turns violent, forcing Lucy to flee from him. Their struggle leads them out of the tunnel and onto piles of debris. When the cameras capture Jessup's face, Coriolanus realizes he is suffering from rabies. Coriolanus urges Jessup's mentor to send water, and a drone drops a bottle toward him. The glass shatters on impact, frightening Jessup and causing him to fall to his death. Lucy rushes to his body to say goodbye, and in that moment the remaining tributes emerge, moving in to attack her. Thinking quickly, Coriolanus sends in more water drones, creating chaos that distracts the attackers and gives Lucy the chance to escape with a bottle of her own. Soon after, the remaining tributes turn their attention to Lamina, who has been staying hidden on top of Marcus's pillar. A violent fight breaks out, and despite her efforts to defend herself, Lamina is eventually killed. While everyone is focused on the fight, Lucy quietly mixes rat poison into one water bottle and leaves it behind. She empties the other bottles the group had saved and runs off. After Lamina's body hits the ground, Lucy slips into the vents and seals the grate just before the others can reach her. The remaining tributes begin arguing over the water, and during the struggle one of them is killed. That leaves only a few tributes alive. The group moves on in search of another target, and the poisoned bottle ends up in the hands of a small innocent girl. She dies the moment she drinks from it. Her friend Reaper emerges and screams in grief when he sees her body, while Lucy watches in tears, overwhelmed by guilt. Reaper then gathers the fallen tributes and covers them with the capital flag before turning to the camera, preparing to speak out in support of rebellion. Before he can finish, the broadcast is cut off by Gaul, who delivers a grim announcement. The mentor injured in the rebel bombing has died, and it is revealed that he was the president's son. Calling his death a political act, Gaul declares that the districts will be punished. She orders that all remaining tributes be executed, even if it means the Hunger Games will end without a winner. When Gaul announces she will unleash a rainbow of destruction, Coriolanus realizes she is referring to her snakes and quickly forms a plan. As guards remove the snake tank from Gaul's office, he slips behind them and tosses in his handkerchief, still carrying Lucy's scent, back in the arena. A tribute discovers Lucy hiding in the vent and begins stabbing a spear through the grate. Lucy retreats and notices other vents positioned above two tributes below. She drops the rat poison down, killing one of them instantly. The other tries to strike back with a trident, jabbing at her through the vent. Lucy dodges the attacks, but the damaged grate finally gives way and she falls into the arena. At that moment, Gaul's tank crashes open, releasing thousands of colorful snakes. They swarm over a young girl first, killing her, then spread out across the arena, hunting down the remaining tributes. Reaper stays on his knees and accepts his fate, while another girl attempts to kill Lucy in her final moments, only to be taken by the snakes as well. Soon, the snakes surround Lucy but do not attack. Lucy begins to sing, calming them. Seeing this, Coriolanus tells Gaul that the song is soothing the animals and that Lucy should be named the winner. Gaul initially refuses, but as the other mentors begin chanting for Lucy's victory, she is forced to give in. Gaul announces Lucy as the winner of the Hunger Games, and the host rips open his envelope, claiming he had predicted Lucy's win all along. Moments later, Coriolanus is brought before Casca, who has discovered the compact mirror and the handkerchief. Both items prove that Coriolanus broke the rules. As punishment, Casca declares that his family will receive no prize money, and sentences Coriolanus to serve as a peacekeeper in the districts for 20 years. After undergoing medical testing and having his head shaved, Coriolanus is told he will be assigned to District 8. Unwilling to accept this, he secretly bribes the organizer to be sent to District 12 instead. During the train journey, Coriolanus is stunned to find Sejanus joining him. Sejanus has volunteered for peacekeeper duty as his own form of punishment, believing it will allow him to make a real difference. Once they arrive in District 12, both boys are subjected to harsh training under the strict control of the peacekeepers. They are forced to witness public executions of anyone who resists the capital and see people dragged away for speaking out. Coriolanus repeatedly has to hold Sejanus back from intervening. On his first day off, Coriolanus visits the local bar with the other new recruits and is surprised to find Lucy there, singing with her group. The performance is interrupted when Lucy's former partner Billy drunkenly appears in the crowd. It is revealed that he cheated on Lucy with Mayfair, which explains the snake incident earlier on. As the crowd tries to remove him, a fight breaks out. Billy climbs onto the stage to reach Lucy, prompting Coriolanus to attack him. Sejanus quickly pulls Coriolanus away and drags him out of the bar before the situation spirals out of control. The next day, Coriolanus finds Lucy alone near the woods and the two finally share a kiss. Knowing their relationship must stay secret, Lucy tells him about a hidden lake where they can meet in private. From that point on, they spend many quiet moments together by the lake, growing closer and enjoying each other's company. Coriolanus admits that he still dreams of returning to the capital one day, but Lucy disagrees, saying they could build a real life in District 12 instead. Not long after, Coriolanus is informed that his test results were outstanding, partly because he is one of the few peacekeepers who can read. Combined with his family name as the son of a respected general, this earns him a transfer to District 2, where the pay and conditions are far better. Coriolanus cannot object without raising suspicion. When he later calls home, Tigris tells him they have been evicted after failing to pay the rent. Coriolanus promises to support them once he reaches District 2. On his way to duty, Coriolanus notices Sejanus speaking with suspected rebels. Later, during bird training, he confronts him in private. Sejanus grows angry and explains he is trying to help people escape from Panem. Coriolanus then remembers that the birds they are handling are genetically altered to record conversations. Without Sejanus noticing, he activates one of the birds to capture everything being said. That bird is later sent along with the others to Gaul's office. One night at the bar, Coriolanus finds Sejanus meeting with the rebels again, including Mayfair and Billy. This time the group is armed, something Sejanus was unaware of, leaving him feeling shocked and betrayed. The tension escalates even further when Lucy joins the group, immediately sparking jealousy in Mayfair after Billy jumps to Lucy's defense. Mayfair threatens to tell her father everything, forcing Coriolanus to act. He grabs a weapon and shoots Mayfair dead. Enraged, Billy lunges at Coriolanus, but another rebel shoots him before he can strike. Lucy breaks down in shock, and Coriolanus tells her to return to the stage and keep singing to distract the crowd. He then orders the rebels to get rid of their weapons and reassures Sejanus that he can always rely on him. The next day, peacekeepers sweep through the entire district, searching for the weapons used to kill the mayor's daughter. During the search, Coriolanus finds Lucy, who tells him she wants to escape Panem. With suspicion falling on her, she fears she will be executed. Coriolanus agrees to run away with her, and they plan to meet at dawn. Later, the peacekeepers capture the rebel who shot Billy and prepare him for execution. During the public hanging, Sejanus is also brought forward. He has been arrested after Gaul received evidence from the recording birds. Sejanus pleads with Coriolanus for help, but Coriolanus turns away, forced to watch his closest friend be killed. Back in their quarters, Coriolanus finds a photograph among Sejanus's belongings and finally breaks down. At dawn, Coriolanus meets Lucy, and together they enter the forest to escape Panem. As they hike deeper into the wilderness, a careless remark from Coriolanus makes Lucy realize that he played a role in Sejanus's death. Rain eventually begins to fall, and the pair take shelter in a small cabin. While inside, Coriolanus discovers the rebels' hidden weapons beneath a loose floorboard. He realizes that destroying them would erase any remaining evidence. Lucy soon says she is going out to gather flowers, but hours pass and she does not return. Growing uneasy, Coriolanus searches the woods with a weapon, but Lucy is nowhere to be found. He later finds her shawl on the ground and reaches for it, only to be bitten by a snake. In that moment, Coriolanus understands that Lucy has left him. He erupts in anger, firing his weapon when he sees movement in the trees. When he approaches, there is no body, only Lucy's bracelet. He continues searching and hears Lucy singing in the distance, causing the birds to echo her song throughout the forest. Losing control, Coriolanus fires wildly until his ammunition runs out. Defeated, he throws the weapons into the lake and returns to headquarters. Soon after, Coriolanus prepares for his transfer to District 2, but his commander informs him of a sudden change. Instead, he is being sent back to the capital after receiving a place at the university, granted by Sejanus's parents. Back in the capital, Coriolanus quickly secures a comfortable home and new clothes for his family. He then visits Casca to return Sejanus's belongings and thanks him for teaching him how the world truly works. Casca reveals that the Hunger Games were originally conceived during a drinking session with Coriolanus's father. He never intended to take the idea further, but Coriolanus's father stole it and pushed it forward under both their names. Casca also explains that Lucy's body was never found, leaving her fate unknown. After Coriolanus leaves, Casca pours himself a drink and collapses, poisoned by Coriolanus. Coriolanus then meets with Gaul to begin his training as a game maker, setting him on the path to eventually become President Snow, which we'll be seeing very soon. The Hunger Games takes place 64 years after the events of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. After a failed uprising against the capital, Panem's districts are forced to send 2 tributes between the ages of 12 and 18 to compete in the Hunger Games, where they fight until only one survives. In District 12, Katniss Everdeen reassures her sister, Primrose, or Prim for short, that she will not be chosen. She sings Prim to sleep before heading out for the day. Katniss crosses the district's boundary fence and retrieves her bow and arrow in the forest. She hunts a deer until her friend Gale interrupts her, reminding her that it is reaping day and selling game could attract the peacekeepers. Later, Katniss trades supplies she gathered from the woods for a ball of yarn. She notices a Mockingjay pin among the vendor's items and the vendor gives it to her. Afterward, Mrs. Everdeen helps her daughters prepare for the reaping. Katniss gives Prim the Mockingjay pin as a good luck charm to comfort her. All children between 12 and 18 are then gathered in the town square. Effie Trinket cheerfully welcomes everyone and presents a film explaining the history of the uprising and the Hunger Games. She then draws a name from the girls' bowl and announces the female tribute, Prim. The crowd falls silent as Prim walks toward the stage. Katniss immediately volunteers to take her sister's place. Prim resists, but Gale pulls her away. Katniss is escorted to the stage as the crowd gives the 3-finger salute in farewell. Effie then selects the male tribute, announcing Peeta Mellark. Inside the town hall, Katniss says goodbye to her family. Prim breaks down in tears as Katniss quickly gives her advice on how to survive while she is gone. Prim begs Katniss to win and hands the Mockingjay pin back to her for good luck. Katniss then turns to her mother and urges her to be strong, reminding her that Prim will need her now more than ever. Moments later, peacekeepers pull Katniss away from her family. Gale steps forward and tells Katniss to show her archery skills during training so the capital will notice her. Katniss and Peeta are taken to the train where they see luxury and endless food for the first time. During the journey, Peeta tries to talk strategy, but Katniss avoids the conversation. Soon, their mentor Haymitch arrives and sarcastically congratulates them, bluntly telling them to accept their deaths. The next day, Katniss finds Haymitch still unwilling to help, so she stabs a knife into the table near his hand. Haymitch remains unimpressed but finally offers advice, telling them to make the audience like them to gain sponsors. Sponsors can send gifts that may help them survive in the arena. Upon arriving at the capital, Katniss meets her stylist, Cinna, who openly shows sympathy for her situation. Katniss appreciates his honesty since he does not pretend the games are something positive. Cinna explains that tribute outfits usually reflect their districts. District 12 represents coal mining, but he promises to make her stand out. That evening, the tribute parade begins as the chariots roll in and commentators speak to the crowd. The tributes wave to cheering fans until all attention shifts to Katniss and Peeta, dressed in black with flames rising across their outfits. Once the tributes gather at the center, President Snow addresses them and formally welcomes everyone, wishing them luck in the upcoming games. After the ceremony, Effie escorts Katniss and Peeta to their capital penthouse, where they will stay until the games begin. Katniss is stunned by her private bedroom and the wall-sized windows that display artificial landscapes. She selects a scene that resembles the woods back home, but the image reminds her of her family, so she turns it off. Training begins the following day. During practice, the District 2 tribute Cato starts a fight after accusing another tribute of stealing his knife. When Katniss looks above, she notices the District 11 tribute Rue hiding with a weapon. Thresh from the same district also notices Rue and silently approves. That evening, Haymitch explains that Districts 1 and 2 produce career tributes who train their whole lives and often win. Though he hints their confidence can be a weakness, Peeta points out that Katniss is skilled with a bow, mentioning that his father buys the squirrels she hunts. Katniss responds by saying Peeta is strong, but Peeta argues that strength alone will not help him win. He recalls how his mother once said District 12 might finally have a winner, referring to Katniss. The comment lowers the mood and Peeta leaves the room. Katniss remembers a moment from years earlier when Peeta was punished for burning bread, then secretly tossed it to her while she was starving in the rain. The next day, Katniss watches Glimmer from District 1 struggle with a bow while Clove from District 2 displays impressive knife skills. Peeta performs poorly, drawing laughter from the career tributes. Ignoring Haymitch's advice to stay hidden, Katniss urges Peeta to lift weights. He responds by hurling a heavy metal ball across the room, proving he is stronger than they think. Later, Peeta practices camouflage by painting himself, explaining to Katniss that he learned the skill while decorating cakes at the bakery. When it is Katniss's turn to be evaluated, she shoots an arrow but becomes nervous and misses the target. The game makers lose interest and turn their attention elsewhere. Katniss takes another shot and hits the bullseye, but no one notices. Frustrated when the game makers focus on a roasted pig instead of her, Katniss fires an arrow at the apple in the pig's mouth. Effie scolds her for aiming toward the game makers, but Haymitch finds the moment amusing. Later, Caesar, the Capitol's television host, announces the evaluation scores. The career tributes score high, but to everyone's surprise, Katniss receives the highest score. At the president's residence, Snow criticizes head game maker Seneca Crane for rewarding Katniss after her bold display. He explains that while executions would be quicker, allowing a victor gives the districts controlled hope. Snow orders Seneca to ensure that hope remains under control. The following day, Caesar interviews the tributes on stage. Although Katniss appears uncomfortable, both Caesar and the audience respond warmly to her. She spins during the interview, causing flames to rise from her dress, stunning the crowd. Peeta is interviewed last and comes across as friendly and humorous. When asked if there is a special girl back home, he admits that he has feelings for someone. Caesar encourages him to win the games for her. Peeta then explains that he cannot be with the girl he likes because she is already in the arena with him, revealing his feelings for Katniss. Afterward, Katniss confronts Peeta, accusing him of making her seem weak. Haymitch corrects her, explaining that Peeta made her look appealing and valuable to the audience. He believes presenting them as star-crossed lovers will help attract sponsors. That night, Katniss struggles to sleep and notices Peeta standing by the window. She joins him and apologizes for accusing him earlier. Peeta explains that he does not want to be treated as just another piece in the games. He hopes that even if he dies, he will do so as himself. The next day, Cinna helps Katniss prepare for the arena. He reveals that he secretly stitched the Mockingjay pin onto her jacket. They share a quiet moment together before Katniss is lifted into the arena. She arrives in a wide clearing where the tributes stand on their platforms facing the cornucopia filled with supplies. When the countdown reaches 0, the tributes rush forward. Peeta runs toward the woods while others grab weapons and packs. The career tributes kill several competitors as Katniss secures a backpack. Clove throws a knife at her, but Katniss deflects it with the bag and escapes. Katniss races into the forest, where she briefly encounters the District 5 tribute she calls Foxface. They lock eyes before Foxface quickly runs away. Katniss continues deeper into the woods, putting as much distance as possible between herself and the others. After the initial slaughter, cannons fire to signal the fallen tributes. Katniss counts the blasts and realizes that 12 tributes have already died. Using her hunting skills, she locates water, sets simple traps, and gathers food. She climbs a tree and ties herself to a branch to sleep safely. That night, images appear in the sky showing the dead tributes, confirming that Peeta is still alive. Later, Katniss spots a nearby campfire. The careers who are trained tributes from Districts 1 and 2 who volunteered soon find the District 8 tribute who started the fire and kill her. Katniss watches them laugh over the body and is shocked to see Peeta among them. He appears to be helping guide the group, though they remain unaware that Katniss is close by. The next day, Katniss keeps moving through the arena as the game makers observe that she is nearing the edge. To force her back toward the center, they ignite a forest fire. Katniss flees the flames while fiery projectiles rain down around her. Seneca directs the attack to push her toward a river where the career tributes finally catch her trail. They chase Katniss until she reaches a tall tree and climbs beyond their reach. Cato attempts to follow but falls back to the ground. Glimmer fires an arrow but misses. Peeta suggests waiting her out, knowing she cannot stay in the tree forever. Injured and burned, Katniss remains trapped as Haymitch works behind the scenes to secure help. That night, a sponsor gift arrives containing medicine that quickly eases her pain. By morning, the careers sleep below, and Katniss notices Rue hiding in a nearby tree. Rue silently points out a tracker-jacker nest hanging above the careers' camp and signals that it could be used against them. Katniss carefully saws through the branch holding the nest until it drops onto the group. The careers scatter in panic as the insects swarm. Glimmer trips and is overwhelmed by the tracker-jackers. Katniss climbs down but struggles to escape as the venom causes her to hallucinate. She reaches Glimmer's body and takes her bow and arrows. Soon after, Katniss sees Peeta shouting for her to run. She stumbles through the forest before collapsing. When Katniss wakes, she finds leaves placed on her burns and Rue nearby. Katniss shares food with Rue, who explains she was unconscious for 2 days. Rue reassures her that Peeta is still alive and reveals that the careers have stored most of the supplies at the cornucopia. The next day, Katniss plans to distract the careers by having Rue light fires throughout the forest while she targets their supplies. Rue suggests using a special song that the Mockingjays can repeat so they know when the other is safe. The two share a quick embrace before separating. Katniss reaches the edge of a clearing and spots the career tribute supplies piled near the cornucopia. She also notices that the ground around the platforms has been dug up. Soon after, the District 1 tribute Marvel sees the smoke rising from the trees and urges the others to investigate, leaving a District 3 boy behind to guard the supplies. Katniss then watches as Foxface skips across the clearing to steal food, helping Katniss realize that the careers have dug up the landmines from the platforms and planted them around the supplies. Katniss shoots a net of apples above the pile, causing them to fall and trigger the mines, destroying the stockpile. When the careers return, Cato kills the District 3 boy for failing to protect their supplies. Katniss flees back into the forest and signals the Mockingjays, but Rue's song does not answer her. Hearing Rue scream, Katniss follows the sound and finds her trapped in a net. She frees Rue just as Marvel appears and throws a spear. Katniss shoots Marvel with an arrow, but the spear strikes Rue in the stomach. Katniss holds Rue as she fades, and Rue asks her to win the games and sing to her. Katniss sings the same song she once sang to Prim until Rue dies. Overcome with grief, Katniss covers Rue's body with flowers and gives the three-finger salute. In District 11, the people repeat the gesture, and anger over Rue's death sparks a riot. Following the unrest, Seneca considers having Katniss killed, but Haymitch warns that doing so would turn her into a martyr. Instead, Haymitch suggests giving the audience something new to support. Soon after, Claudius, the capital's official Hunger Games announcer, announces a major rule change, stating that 2 tributes can win the games if they are from the same district. Upon hearing this, Katniss searches for Peeta and finds him camouflaged near the riverbank. She helps carry him into a cave to stay hidden, but Peeta reveals that Cato has badly wounded him, leaving him unable to move much. Katniss promises to find medicine, but Peeta points out that he has no sponsors. Understanding what is needed, Katniss kisses him on the cheek. Shortly afterward, a sponsor gift arrives with a note from Haymitch saying the gesture was not enough. The package contains soup for Peeta and Katniss feeds it to him. Peeta reflects on the time he threw bread to Katniss when she was starving and regrets not giving her everything he had. He also recalls a school assembly where Katniss volunteered to sing, explaining that he has admired her since that day. By morning, Claudius announces that a feast will be held at the cornucopia, offering each tribute something they need. Katniss realizes that Peeta's medicine will be there and prepares to go. Peeta pleads with her to stay, so she kisses him and lies beside him until he falls asleep. Once he does, Katniss quietly leaves. She hides in the forest near the cornucopia and spots 4 backpacks on a table. Before she can act, Foxface suddenly grabs her pack and escapes into the woods. Katniss rushes after her pack, but the moment she grabs it, Clove throws a knife at her. Katniss fires arrows in response, but Clove tackles her to the ground. As Katniss struggles, Clove presses a knife toward her chest and taunts her about Peeta and Rue. She then pins Katniss's arms to the ground, preparing to finish her off. Suddenly, Thresh appears and seizes Clove, slamming her against the cornucopia. He accuses her of killing Rue and repeatedly strikes her until she dies. Thresh then turns to Katniss and tells her that he will spare her life this once, in Rue's honor. Katniss quickly takes her bag and escapes. She returns to the cave and wakes Peeta, immediately applying the medicine to his wound. Peeta then gently applies the medicine to the cut on Katniss's forehead. Their quiet moment draws the attention of the viewers watching the games. The following day, Katniss and Peeta separate briefly to gather food. Suddenly, Katniss hears a cannon fire and rushes back, fearing the worst. She finds Peeta's jacket filled with nightlock berries. Just as Peeta returns, Katniss scolds him for collecting the poisonous fruit. Soon after, they discover Foxface dead with nightlock berries in her hand. They realize she followed Peeta and unintentionally poisoned herself. Katniss gathers the berries, thinking they may help against Cato. As night falls, Katniss senses the games are nearing their end. A scream echoes through the darkness, followed by a cannon confirming Thresh's death. Moving cautiously, the pair are suddenly attacked by a beast. Katniss shoots it with an arrow, allowing them to escape together. More mutations burst from the shadows and chase Katniss and Peeta into the clearing. They climb onto the cornucopia where Cato is already waiting. Peeta lunges at him, but Cato overpowers him and throws him aside before turning on Katniss. Cato pins Katniss down, holding her close to the edge as the creatures close in. Peeta manages to pull Cato off her, giving Katniss a chance to raise her weapon. She aims at Cato, but he grabs Peeta by the neck and stands on the edge, daring her to shoot and send them both falling. Peeta signals Katniss to aim lower, pointing to Cato's hand. Katniss fires, hitting Cato and causing him to lose his grip. Peeta shoves him off the cornucopia and the beasts swarm him below. When they fail to kill him quickly, Katniss ends his suffering with an arrow to the head. With Cato dead, the creatures retreat. Katniss and Peeta climb down, believing the games are finally over. Just as Katniss and Peeta believe the games are over, Claudius announces that the rule allowing 2 winners has been revoked. Only one tribute can survive. Peeta urges Katniss to shoot him so the games can have a victor, but she refuses. Instead, Katniss pulls the nightlock berries from her pocket and hands half to Peeta, choosing to die together rather than turn on each other. As they prepare to eat the berries, Claudius suddenly stops them and declares that both Katniss and Peeta will be crowned the winners of the games. Afterward, Haymitch warns Katniss that the Capitol is angered by how she defied them. At the same time, Seneca is escorted into a locked room where a bowl of nightlock berries awaits him. Understanding the danger, Haymitch tells Katniss to convince the Capitol that everything she did was for love. From then on, Katniss presents herself as deeply in love with Peeta whenever she is in public. On the train ride home, Katniss tells Peeta that she wants to forget everything they went through. When they return to District 12, the pair are welcomed as heroes and celebrated by the district. However, far away, President Snow watches them closely, aware that their actions have changed everything. In District 12, during the events of the Hunger Games catching fire, Gale visits Katniss and asks her when she is leaving for the victory tour. So she reveals that she'll go in a couple of hours. Katniss joins him for hunting, where she shoots an arrow at a turkey but instead imagines that it hits Marvel, causing her to have a severe panic attack. Gale comforts her and they head back to the settlement, where Gale declines to drop her off at the train station because a lot of people would gather to say goodbye to her. She tells him she'll be back in a few weeks, but he thinks a lot can change in a few weeks and refuses to trust her, despite Katniss explaining that she isn't involved romantically with Peeta. She heads to the house where she wakes Haymitch by throwing water at him and acts distant when Peeta offers her food. She tells them to get ready and heads back to her house, where Prim quickly informs her that they have visitors. Katniss is escorted to Snow, who claims that his problem began when she revealed the poison berries in the arena, saying that Seneca should have killed her, as it was considered an act of defiance against the Capitol because a girl from the lowest of all districts rebelled against the Capitol and is walking freely, which has inspired revolts across Panem. He asks her if she would like to be in a real war, which she quickly refuses, so he threatens that her district will be reduced to ashes, just like District 13. He also tells her to feign love with Peeta during the victory tour to convince everyone that they were both willing to risk death and that it was an act of love, not rebellion. He blackmails her with footage of Gale kissing her and asks her to convince him too. Later, Effie, Trinket, and Cinna arrive at Katniss's house to get her ready for the show, which soon starts with Katniss greeting Peeta with a kiss. They then wave goodbye to the camera before heading to the train. Effie explains that they'd be going on a 12-day victory tour to all districts, so she urges them to enjoy it, but Katniss angrily walks away as she can't enjoy the luxury she got from killing people. Peeta follows her and tells her that he hates that they act so close on camera but ignore each other in person, suggesting that they try being friends, which Katniss accepts. Soon they arrive at District 11, and Effie comments on how the destroyed area isn't very festive. They are transported to the event location in bulletproof trucks, where Effie tells them that in each district they will make speeches to honor the fallen tributes, and in District 11 those are Rue and Thresh. She hands them the scripts, but Peeta doesn't follow them during his speech and comments that they can never make up for their loss, but would donate 1 month of their winnings to the families of the tributes for the rest of their lives. Before they head back inside, Katniss takes the mic and says that she sees Rue in all beautiful things like flowers, and in her sister Prim, before apologizing for not being able to save her. This makes an old man give a 3-finger salute and sing Rue's 4-note whistle, which is followed by the rest of the people in District 11. The peacekeepers rush to the man and Katniss tries to save him. but they bring the old man to the stage and shoot him, making Katniss scream in agony. Haymitch drags Katniss to the attic and she tells him that Snow needs to know that she isn't trying to cause a rebellion. He tells them to simply read the card that Effie gives them and try their best to distract the people from real problems. For the next few districts they simply follow the script, but Katniss is unable to bear the looks of disdain on the people's faces. She ignores the protesters who are taken by the peacekeepers but is deeply traumatized, and Peeta comforts her. In the next few speeches people hysterically scream at them to put down the cards and say what they actually feel. Snow observes this while having dinner with his granddaughter, who tells him that everyone in school now follows Katniss's hairstyle. Meanwhile, Haymitch tells them that Snow won't be happy with them, so Katniss suggests that they get married to make a bold statement and distract people. Later that night, Caesar announces the news of their proposal. That night they head to the grand party, where everyone looks at them with fascination. A man offers them a drink that expands the stomach's capacity, which disgusts Peeta as he takes Katniss to the dance floor, telling her that people are starving in District 12, but here they have remedies so they can eat more food than a human should. They are interrupted by Effie, who introduces them to Plutarch Heavensbee, the new head game maker, successor to Seneca. Plutarch dances with Katniss, telling her that game making was his ambition and that she inspired him to make a return. But before he can clarify, they are interrupted by President Snow's speech, who makes a toast to the engagement of the two victors, but Katniss notices his odd behavior. Later, being unable to sleep, she roams inside the train and notices the rebellion playing in the Peacekeeper's security room. Snow watches people use Mockingjay as a symbol of hope and tells Plutarch that Katniss needs to be eliminated. Plutarch agrees but says that they need to showcase that she is with the capital to actually kill their hopes. Otherwise, Katniss's death would add fuel to the fire. He advises Snow to take away the little they have and double the flogging and executions. Plutarch tells him to broadcast executions live while showing Katniss preparing for her marriage, so they hate her for not standing up for them. Meanwhile, Katniss returns home and explains to Gale that Snow has threatened to kill both their families, so they should run away. But Gale doesn't listen and asks if she loves him, despite her telling him that she has no time to give love a thought. She tells him that the rebellion is happening, and wishes that she had eaten the berries in the arena so everyone would be safe. But Gale tells her that people are treated like slaves, given scarce food and sent to reaping, so Katniss has only allowed them to stand for themselves. He tells her that she can leave, but he will protect his people. Suddenly, many vehicles led by Peacekeeper Romulus Thread enter District 12 and quickly start searching the houses and burning all belongings. Gale rushes there to intervene in their beating of civilians, but the commander orders Gale to be publicly whipped. Katniss jumps in, getting hit in the face, but still refuses to back out, so the commander takes out his gun. However, Haymitch quickly tells him that Katniss is the darling of the capital, and shooting her will result in outrage. The commander declares that anyone found outside after dark will be shot, and Katniss brings Gale indoors to tend to his injuries, with Katniss staying the night to care for him. On the other hand, Snow watches this and tells Plutarch to find a way to eliminate all victors from District 12.
If you cannot contain Katniss Everdeen, her entire species has to be eliminated.
The next day, the 75th Hunger Games, the third quarter quell, is announced, but with the twist that the tributes will be reaped from the existing pool of victors from each district, meaning only past winners are eligible, making Haymitch furious while Katniss runs out to the woods and weeps. Later, she goes to Haymitch and tells him that they need to save Peeta. So Haymitch decides to volunteer if Peeta's name is called. On the day of the reaping, Gale says that they should have run away when Katniss suggested, but she remains silent. Later, Effie welcomes all the victors, and as the only living female victor, Katniss is chosen, while amongst the men Haymitch's name is drawn instead of Peeta's, but Peeta volunteers for him. The district does a three-finger salute, which Katniss and Peeta join, so Peacekeeper Romulus Thread drags them to the train and refuses to let them say goodbye to their families. In the train, Effie says she will get the boys something golden to showcase that they are a team, since Effie has golden hair and Katniss has her golden Mockingjay pin. She explains that things will be very different as the capital has a new training center, and now they will be facing experienced killers. Haymitch tells Katniss that she needs to form allies, saying that the victors have been friends with each other for years, so they will target them in the first place, unless they form some alliances. He introduces her to the participants, starting with Kashmir and Gloss, a brother and sister from District 1, who have won 2 games back-to-back and have a lot of sponsors. He then moves to Brutus and Anoberia, who filed her teeth into fangs to rip the throats of people. Next, Wyrus and BT from District 3, who aren't fighters but are geniuses, as BT won the game by electrocuting 6 tributes at once. He moves to Morphlings from District 6, who both won by hiding till everyone died. He explains that Finnick Odair from District 4 would be a threat, as he won the games when he was just 14. However, his mentor named Mags would serve as his weakness because she is now old and has volunteered to join the games instead of a young victor. Elsewhere, Katniss and Peeta go to the first look ceremony, where she presses the button given by Cinna, which lights their clothes on fire, making people cheer her name. Once they head back in, Haymitch introduces them to Cedar and Chaff, tributes from District 11. and Katniss is shocked by Chaff's friendliness. They are joined by Johanna from District 7, who flirts with the boys before leaving. The next morning they head to the training center, where everyone is fiercely training. So Katniss joins Wyrus and BT, who are trying to create fire with a stick. Wyrus points out the electromagnetic field that separates the game makers from the tributes, which shocks Katniss, while they laugh at how she couldn't notice that. She then goes to Mags, who is making a fishhook, and asks her to teach her, offering to teach Mags hunting in return. Katniss heads to the archery range, where she manages to defeat all the holograms, making the tributes take interest in her. Later, Haymitch tells her that more than half of the tributes want to form a team with Katniss and Peeta, but Katniss is still unsure. Next, they are all called for individual assessments, and Katniss wonders how she will kill these people. She steps in on her turn, but feeling overwhelmed by a painting of Rue, she quickly decides to use a mannequin to show how Seneca Crane was executed before leaving. The pre-games interviews start, and Caesar tells people that today is the last day to show love, as they will be saying goodbye to all tributes except for one who will be crowned as a victor among victors. Cinna takes Katniss to show her the dress, saying that President Snow ordered that she wear it, but he has made a few alterations. While she is getting ready, Haymitch says that all victors are angry and will try to do everything they can to stop the games from happening, so Katniss should try doing the same. BT says that the capital still has time to take this back, while Johanna screams at everyone involved in the commencement of the games. When Katniss heads up, Caesar comments on how they're all a bit disappointed that the wedding didn't take place, but everyone is happy to see her in the wedding dress. He asks her to twirl, which sets the dress on fire and changes it into a black Mockingjay outfit. Peeta gives the interview next, where he lies that he and Katniss got married in secret and are expecting a child, causing an uproar among the capital's citizens. The crowd starts demanding that the games get cancelled, while all the tributes hold hands in solidarity. Later, Haymitch tells them that the games are still on, and Effie gives Haymitch a gold bangle, while Peeta gets a medallion to symbolize them being a team. Effie cries and wishes that the victors had a better fate than this. The next morning, Snow tells Plutarch that he doesn't like the unity, but Plutarch tells him to be patient because as soon as the game starts, the arena will turn into a bloodbath. Just before Katniss enters the arena, she thanks Cinna for making her the Mockingjay dress. When she enters the launch tube, Cinna is brutally beaten in front of her, making her beg them to stop hurting him. The games finally start and Katniss finds herself in the middle of water, so she swims to the cornucopia and picks up her bows and arrows. She makes a person fall into water and is about to shoot at Finnick when he shows her Haymitch's gold bangle, saying that they are allies, and throws his trident at a man approaching them, quickly killing him. Mags finds Peeta and they rush to help him, as he is fighting someone in the water, but Peeta manages to overpower his opponent. All four rush into the forest where Peeta, who is guiding them, eventually gets electrocuted by a force field, but fortunately, Finnick gives him CPR, which eventually resuscitates him. Katniss cries and hugs him, making Snow's granddaughter wish that she finds such true love when she grows up. Katniss takes the lead, throwing small objects and checking for the electric field. She eventually climbs to the top of a tree and fires an arrow to the sky, which makes her realize that the force field is a dome, meaning they are at the edge of the arena, and she still couldn't see any signs of fresh water. They decide to rest for the night as they are all severely dehydrated, and Finnick volunteers to take the first watch, but Katniss tells him that she doesn't trust him, despite Finnick explaining that he saved Peeta's life and if he wanted to kill them he would have done that already. Katniss tells Peeta to rest up while she stays up to guard them, and soon the people who have died are shown, so Katniss counts 8 fallen tributes. Suddenly, they receive a gift sent by Haymitch, which consists of a spile, so Katniss inserts it in a tree, only for water to come out of it. They quickly drink up and Finnick decides to take a nap while Katniss keeps guard. She eventually falls asleep and is woken up by a mysterious fog coming their way, which burns her hand as she tries to touch it, making her scream. She quickly tells everyone to run, as the fog is poisonous, but the fog starts to engulf them from all sides while Katniss accidentally falls. Peeta rushes to pick her up, which causes his back to be burned by the fog. He tries to run, but he is badly injured and passes out. Katniss, not being strong enough to carry him, looks at Finnick, who is already carrying Mags on his back. Mags decides to sacrifice herself so the rest can escape, despite Finnick repeatedly asking her to come back. Katniss tells him they don't have time, so they start running again, but they still get grazed by the fog and are only saved because they fall down a cliff and the fog doesn't reach there. Katniss finds water nearby and screams as she puts her burnt hand inside, but quickly realizes that it is of great help and tells everyone to do the same. They groan in pain as they submerge themselves in water and then later help Finnick with it. However, they suddenly get surrounded by monkey mutts and they are forced to defend themselves. Katniss uses arrows, Finnick his trident and Peeta the sword, but they are outnumbered. Suddenly, a morphling from District 6 jumps out of hiding and gets badly wounded by the monkey mutt that was about to attack Peeta. They drag her with them and head to the beach, where Peeta tells her to focus on the colors of the dawn, and she passes away in his arms. The monkey mutts back off, and Peeta looks at the hovercraft that picks up her body, commenting on how she didn't know him yet sacrificed her life for him. But Katniss thinks that doesn't make any sense. They fish and eat, while Peeta finds a pearl in the oyster and gives it to Katniss. Suddenly, they hear loud screams and a large wave that comes down the forest and unsettles the water. The hovercraft appears again to pick up another dead body, and Katniss feels the presence of someone near her, so she quickly takes out her bow, only to realize that it's Johanna. Finnick runs towards her and Peeta comments that they might have found more allies. Johanna explains that they were deep in the jungles where they considered it would be safe when suddenly it started to rain. They all thought it was water but soon realized that it was blood that started to choke them, which led to the death of Blight, the other tribute from District 7. Johanna says that she got Wyrus and BT out of the blood rain because Katniss wanted them as allies. Katniss helps Wyrus clean up as she has gone into shock and keeps repeating tick-tock, but that helps Katniss realize that this place is a clock. She explains that the arena is designed like a clock with a new threat every hour, but it stays within its specific wedge. It starts with lightning, and they quickly start to figure out what the next threat might be, while Wyrus sings a nursery rhyme that might be their next clue. However, before anyone can acknowledge it, Gloss attacks Wyrus, making Katniss kill him by shooting an arrow. Johanna throws her axe at Kashmir, killing both tributes from District 1, but suddenly the game makers rotate the arena. Katniss is about to fall, but Johanna holds her. And Peeta grabs BT, however Katniss is unable to hold on for long and goes into the water. Plutarch tells them to stop the moving cornucopia once Katniss falls off and wonders how the tributes will tell the time now. Katniss is initially overwhelmed by the harsh waves, but eventually swims back up and regains control. The group sits on the beach acknowledging that only Brutus, Anobaria and Chaff are left, so it's highly unlikely that they'd attack them. However, they suddenly hear Prim screaming, asking Katniss to come save her, making Katniss rush towards the sound before anyone can hold her back. She goes to the middle of the jungle and eventually finds a Jabberjay copying Prim's voice and shoots it down. However, next it starts producing the sound of Annie, making Finnick look for her frantically. Katniss tells him to calm down as it's not real, but Finnick becomes more worried as Jabberjays only copy sounds they heard in real life. Katniss starts hearing Gale's sound as well, and soon a flock attacks them. They run back to the beach but instead find a wall between them and the rest of their group, stopping them from reaching the other side. Peeta tries to calm Katniss by telling her they are not real, but Katniss cannot hear him because of the wall. Katniss screams in pain, covering her ears to stop hearing the voices, and the birds disappear once the hour is over. Peeta quickly comforts her that they would never hurt Prim, and Johanna agrees, saying that Prim is loved by the entire country, so torturing her would mean riots even within the capital. Johanna curses Snow out, telling the tributes that she doesn't have any loved ones left, so she no longer fears him. Once they settle down, Katniss notices that Finnick is still disturbed and asks Johanna who Annie is. So she explains that Annie won the Hunger Games 5 years ago but was severely traumatized. BT joins them, saying that he has a plan, explaining that they can connect a spool of wire from the shore to the tree where lightning hits at midnight as a plan to lure the remaining careers to the beach and electrocute them with lightning. They ask him how they can help, and he tells them that if he is alive in the next 6 hours, their plan will be a great success. Katniss tells Peeta that they need to leave because once the careers are dead, the allies will turn against one another. But Peeta says that maybe none of them will betray one another. However, Katniss believes that the situation will eventually turn bad, as this time the capital wouldn't accept more than one winner. Peeta tells her to stay with them till midnight, and after that, if they feel threatened, they'd go their own way. He tells her that if she dies, he will have no one left for him, but Katniss has her family to go back to. He shows her pictures of her mother, Prim, and Gale in his medallion and tells her that she has to live for them. She tells him that she needs him, and Johanna calls for them to head to the tree. BT coils the wire around the tree and tells the girls to go, telling them to ensure the entire coil is inside the water and then head to the tree at the 2 o'clock position. Peeta wishes to go with them, but BT tells him that he needs 2 guards. Katniss questions why Johanna and Finnick can't stay, but BT says that they decided to follow his plan so they should trust him. They head out, but Brutus and Anobaria arrive, so shockingly Johanna hits Katniss in the back of the head, knocking her unconscious, removing her tracker and fleeing. After regaining consciousness, Katniss rushes to find Peeta, but she discovers an unconscious BT, seemingly electrocuted by the arena's force field. She screams for Peeta but is unable to find him and prepares to attack Finnick, who is heading towards her, thinking that he has betrayed them. However, Finnick tells her to remember who the real enemy is, and just before lightning strikes, Katniss hooks the wire to an arrow and shoots it into the force field above the arena. The electricity breaches the arena's force barrier, blowing a hole through it, which shuts down the entire system. It also knocks Katniss unconscious and a hovercraft rescues her. She wakes up in a hovercraft and quickly grabs a syringe as a weapon, but finds Haymitch with Plutarch and Finnick, so she goes to attack Haymitch for betraying them, but he tells her that they are on the same side. Plutarch explains that several of the tributes were part of a rebel plan to rescue her, as she is the Mockingjay of the revolution, and they are heading to District 13. She asks about Peeta, and Haymitch reveals that he and Johanna were captured by the capital. Katniss attacks Haymitch as he promised that he would save Peeta over her, but she is quickly sedated by Plutarch. When she gains consciousness again, Gale is next to her, who assures her that her family is safe, but explains that after the games the capital firebombed District 12, destroying it. Katniss cries at the loss of her people and her home, after which she resolves to seek revenge. The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 begins with Katniss struggling to sleep as the medical staff forces her to rest so she can recover. Later, when she wakes up, she finds Finnick crying in another room. Haunted by Mag's sacrifice and his physical inability to move during the arena's destruction, Finnick explains that he was unable to save Peeta, Johanna, and Annie from being captured. Knowing the pain they are now facing in the capital, he admits to her that he wishes they had all died rather than endure the torture. Sometime later, District 13's security head named Colonel Boggs visits Katniss to inform her of District 13's President Alma Coin's desire to meet her. He escorts her to the bustling underground of District 13, which has remained intact despite the destruction of its surface by the capital. Katniss finds herself in a conference room with Plutarch, a wheelchair-ridden BT, and Alma, who welcomes her, explaining that Katniss became the symbol of rebellion against the capital when she brought down the game arena with her arrow, and is represented by Mockingjay. Plutarch then tells her that they would be recording propaganda videos centered around her, to unite the districts and incite a full-fledged rebellion against the capital. But Katniss rejects their plan because they did not manage to save Peeta. Her attitude makes Alma doubt her abilities, but Plutarch's faith in her remains strong, and he decides to convince her by showing her the capital's destruction of District 12. Before setting off for District 12, Gale advises Katniss not to expose herself to the destruction of the district, but she remains determined to see it for herself. Moments later, she is dropped off by the plane in District 12, which she realizes has been turned into a barren wasteland with piles of deformed corpses of her people lying in the rubble of what used to be her hometown. Katniss is shaken to her core by this brutality, and upon recovering, she walks up to her residence in the Victor's village, which has been spared by the capital. Inside, she stocks up on some supplies and picks up Prim's cat named Buttercup, which is roaming around in the area. She also finds an artificial white flower in a wilted bouquet, reminding her of the capital's power over the fate of its subjects. In the capital, President Snow reads the speech that has been prepared for him, and asks his assistant named Egeria to revise it, swapping words like rebels with radicals to undermine their cause. He reminds Egeria of his oldest rule of never letting people see your weakness, and the next day he broadcasts his speech all over Panem. He condemns the defiance by the people of District 12, labeling them as radicals who seek to destroy the peace sustained by the capital. He also bans the symbol of the Mockingjay and gets his peacekeepers to execute several masked prisoners in front of the crowds as a warning. On the other side, Katniss returns to the underground base in District 13 and reunites with her mother and sister, handing Prim Buttercup, but their mother is unsure, as pets are not allowed by the authorities. At night, when Katniss is having dinner at the mess along Gale and the other rebels, Capital TV starts to broadcast an interview of Peeta taken by Caesar Flickerman, where Peeta claims complete ignorance on his and Katniss's part about the rebellion, and calls for a ceasefire as a civil war would only lead to their extinction, which they narrowly survived the last time. The rebels are shocked by Peeta's change of allegiance and start protesting, calling him a traitor, while Katniss runs off to be by herself. When Gale accompanies her, she claims that a ceasefire is impossible after Snow's atrocities, and wonders why Peeta changed sides, with Gale suspecting coercion or Peeta having made a deal with the capital to spare Katniss. Later at night, she wakes up screaming in her bed and sees Peeta, whom she asks to stay, and he comes near her, but it turns out to be a dream, making her worried for him. Prim is also awake, so she goes to comfort Katniss, telling her not to worry about Peeta, as Katniss is important to the rebel cause, which would give her enough power to save Peeta. The next day, Katniss agrees to lead the rebels on the condition that Peeta, Johanna, and Annie are saved at the first opportunity and are forgiven for their apparent support of the capital. Alma originally refuses, but she is convinced by Plutarch, who highlights Katniss's strength, which is necessary to lead the rebels. Katniss also demands that Prim gets to keep Buttercup despite the rule of having no pets. After that, Plutarch visits Effie in her room, asking her to join the rebels as she has no future left in the capital, and she reluctantly agrees. Later, Alma presides over the rebels and informs them of Katniss's agreement to lead them in return for saving the tributes, but the deal would be void if she fails. After the speech, Plutarch suggests that Alma speak more emotionally to stoke the fire of the rebellion, but she refuses as she prefers simplicity. Moments later, Katniss reunites with Effie, who shows her Cinna's sketches of her Mockingjay suit, the one he was killed for, and that they are going to use it as a symbol for the rebellion. As a result, Katniss gets ready and is instructed to deliver scripted lines for a propaganda video to incite people to rebel against the capital. However, Katniss's delivery is very awkward and unnatural. prompting Haymitch to suggest that she should be allowed to be spontaneous rather than given scripted lines. Plutarch sees this as a way of saying that she should be employed in the war zone, an idea that Alma strongly opposes. Nevertheless, Katniss is determined to join the real battle against the capital rather than sitting back and making commercials for the rebellion. So Alma is forced to agree. A moment later, BT asks Katniss to accompany him to the armory, so that he can show her the weapons he designed for her and other rebels. He hands Gale a crossbow with flammable bullets and Katniss gets a powerful bow, while BT also claims to have crafted a trident for Finnick that might cheer him up. Katniss proceeds to test out her bow with the incendiary arrows, but BT believes that she should use it in battle instead. After that, Boggs guides Katniss through the armory of the rebels, taking her to the plane which is waiting to take her into the battlefield. Katniss questions the rebels' decision of not helping the other districts against the capital in the previous war despite their heavy firepower. Boggs explains that they barely survived the war, and another direct conflict would have resulted in the destruction of both sides, so Katniss mocks him for talking like PETA. After that, they are introduced to Cressida, a director from the capital, her assistant Missala, cameraman Castor, and Pollux, a man whose tongue was cut out by the capital. They all claim to have escaped the capital to film and accompany her in the battle zone of District 8, where Katniss meets the rebel leader Commander Paler. Boggs tells her of Katniss's desire to see the wounded, so she is taken to a makeshift hospital full of men, women, and children wounded by the capital's bombing. When Katniss walks among the wounded, the morale of the people rises and the wounded salute her as Cressida's crew films it all. When news of Katniss's whereabouts reaches the capital, Snow orders the bombing of the makeshift hospital despite Egeria's reservations, as he sees all of them as traitors for associating with the Mockingjay. When Katniss and the others are on their way out of the hospital, sirens ring, informing them of incoming bombers from the capital, so Boggs orders everyone's evacuation to the nearby bunker. However, Katniss does not want to hide, so she follows the bomber, and as a result she and Gale get separated from the rest of the squad. They head up a rooftop from where Katniss sees the bombers deliberately target the hospital, prompting her to shoot them down with her arrows. Katniss tries to save the wounded, but the hospital has been turned into a war zone, leaving no survivors. Cressida senses the moment and asks an upset Katniss to tell the camera what she saw, prompting Katniss to condemn the capital's violence and warn Snow that the capital will burn with them. Later, her speech is televised, followed by Alma's victory speech, prompting victory chants from the crowd, which Katniss finds inappropriate considering the loss of lives, but Finnick deems it necessary to increase their number, which would bring them closer to saving Peeta and Annie. Elsewhere, woodcutters who are forced to work extra hours turn against the capital and climb up trees at their worksite, prompting the peacekeepers to open fire, but mines go off on the ground, taking out the peacekeepers. Back at the rebel base, Gale informs Katniss that Alma has permitted them to go up to the surface, so they explore the forest on the surface and hunt. But they soon give up the idea when the animals are not afraid of them, making the hunt feel unfair. Next, they find an abandoned building by a stream and sit down to relax for a moment when a signal for their return goes off. When they return to the base, they see the broadcast of Peeta's new interview, where he appears to have become weaker and emotional. Caesar informs him of Katniss's agitational actions, which he refuses to believe, claiming that the rebels must be manipulating her. He implores her to think for herself and convince the rebels of a ceasefire, making Gale call him a coward, but Katniss still has faith in him and thinks that he may be ignorant of the capital's destruction of District 12, thus she decides to show it to him and the rest of Panem. Subsequently, she and Gale fly up to District 12 along with the filming crew, where Cressida asks Katniss to tell Panem about the capital's atrocities in the district. But Gale takes the spotlight, telling the story of the Peacekeepers' massacre of the people when Katniss broke the force field of the game arena. He claims that he rallied people towards the forest, but many were afraid and ran towards the roads, making themselves an easy target for bombers. As a result, only 915 out of 10,000 people survived, a fact that he regrets deeply. Afterwards, they go up to the house in Victor's village, where Katniss stocks up on supplies and Gale reminds her of their first kiss in the house. She comforts him, and later the crew has their lunch by a lake, where a Mockingjay flies up to them and Pollux mimics its song with his whistle, prompting Mockingjays all around the place to sing along. Pollux asks Katniss to sing, and her song is recorded by the crew and used as the background music for the video that they broadcast to all the districts. Only the capital remains inaccessible to their broadcasts, and BT regrets making a very solid defense system for the capital, but claims that he will eventually be able to crack it. At night, many protesters target the dam supplying electricity to the capital. As the peacekeepers take post to defend it, they open fire on the protesters, but many get past them and rig the dam with bombs, blowing it up, cutting the capital's power. Moments later, BT is able to break through the capital's broadcast defense, and Katniss is summoned to the inner control room, where she sees another interview of Peeta, who now looks very thin, and calls for the rebels to stop their attacks. However, BT plays Katniss's footage on the capital TV, which Peeta sees and gets more distressed, before he eventually warns Katniss about the capital's plan to attack District 13, but he is suddenly attacked and the broadcast is cut off. Alma takes his warning seriously and calls for an air raid drill, ordering everyone to go down to the bunkers. Boggs informs Alma about 3 bomber squads entering their airspace, making her activate the air defense system and the long-range missiles. Meanwhile, Katniss runs down the stairs to the bunkers but does not find Prim, whom she suspects to have gone up for Buttercup, so she leaves to find her. On the way, she runs into Gale and Prim along with Buttercup, and they all enter the bunker before it closes. On the other hand, the Capitol planes bomb the base, but Alma suspects that the Capitol does not know the base's vital locations, so she orders the base sealed and oxygen strictly rationed, choosing to wait out the bombing despite Plutarch's fear of being buried alive. As Katniss and the others wait for the bombing to end, she asks them to talk about something she missed and finds out that Prim is being trained to become a doctor. She also plays with Buttercup to pass the time, which makes her realize something, and she goes up to Finnick, telling him how the cat made her understand that the Capitol is using their loved ones against them. Finnick agrees and claims that he doubted Katniss's love for Peeta, but now he can say it is true love. Later, Katniss is woken up and escorted by Boggs to Alma's office, where she instructs her to film a video, telling Panem that District 13 survived the Capitol's attack without casualties, and mentions that Peeta's warning helped them survive the attack, which she will not forget. However, when Katniss rises up to the surface with the rest of the crew, she finds white roses scattered around the rebel, which she understands as a message from Snow that he is going to kill Peeta. She panics and is not able to film the video, and later sits distressed in the bunker when Haymitch comes up to her and informs her that the rebels have sent a squad with Gale to rescue Peeta. Moreover, Cressida gets Finnick to film the video about District 13's survival of the attack. When Katniss sees the video being televised, she questions its utility, and is told that BT is using the video to jam the communication and defense system of the Capitol, since they are relying temporarily on generator power and have a very limited number of frequencies available to them. Thus, the noise from Finnick's video would jam the systems and enable the rescue squad to enter the Capitol airspace undetected. Meanwhile, the squad with Boggs and Gale enters the Capitol airspace without setting off the radar defense system. As Katniss watches Finnick talk nonstop, the rescue squad identifies the tribute center where Peeta is assumed to be imprisoned, and rushes towards it. Upon arriving near the center, the squad fires tranquilizing gas shells into the building to knock out the peacekeepers, and then proceeds to climb down into the building. Elsewhere, Finnick talks about how President Snow came to power by using poison to take out his enemies and quelling mutinies before they even started. The squad uses cameras to broadcast their raid back to the rebel control room, and Katniss sees them enter the building without any problem. The squad then breaks into the section where Peeta is being held, but they find it empty and completely dark. Just then, the power comes back up in the Capitol, and the sudden light blinds the squad in addition to weakening the signal to the rebel base. BT warns that the defense system will activate soon and they will be completely cut off from the squad, so Katniss asks them to broadcast her instead to distract Snow. She calls for him, and he answers, warning her that her actions would have disastrous consequences. Meanwhile, BT contacts Boggs to find Peeta and get out as soon as possible. But Snow knows about the squad, so he cuts off the signal when he is done talking, making Katniss worry about Gale's safety. The next day, Alma tells Katniss that there has been no news from the squad and tries to comfort her by telling her that she should stay resilient just as she has been throughout her troubles. Later that day, as Katniss is sitting with Finnick, Haymitch informs her that the rescue squad has returned, prompting them to run to check on them. She finds that Johanna has returned, and Finnick embraces Annie, while Katniss goes up to Gale, who tells her that Peeta is safe and being treated for his injuries. However, he also mentions that the Capitol let them go intentionally, as the defense system did not fire at them despite having them in its crosshairs. When Katniss enters the medical room, she finds Peeta in a severely weakened state, but is happy to see him alive. However, he suddenly attacks and tries to choke her to death as she watches in shock. Katniss is almost killed, but Boggs knocks Peeta out in the last second and saves her. Later, Katniss lies recovering in a hospital bed with Boggs keeping watch in her room. Upon waking up, she panics and tries to remove her collar, but Boggs calms her down and tells her that Peeta is safe. However, he injured her badly, so she needs to rest. Later, BT and Plutarch come to discuss Peeta's mental state, and they inform her that Peeta has been tortured and hijacked using tracker-jacker venom combined with psychological conditioning, causing his fear responses to associate Katniss as a threat. They conclude that the Capitol planned to use him to kill Katniss by letting them take him without resistance. Meanwhile, Alma addresses the rebels, informing them of their successful rescue of the tributes and calling for all the districts to unite against the Capitol. She also presents the next part of their plan, that they attack the Capitol's military stronghold, which can be accessed only through District 2. As the rebels roar with joy at their victory, Katniss goes up to Peeta's room and sees him struggling in his bed like a madman, which makes her feel his pain. In The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2, Katniss recovers from Peeta's attack while the medical staff inform her about the swelling in her vocal cords, and they help her make coherent sounds. She wishes to see Peeta, but Plutarch denies her request, saying they are running a few tests to see how Peeta reacts to other familiar people. He takes Katniss to a room with a screen showing Prim, who walks into Peeta's room to see if he would react violently, but he asks her about his family, and Prim reveals that the bakery didn't survive the attack on District 12, but Peeta starts rambling about how the attack happened because of Katniss. When Prim denies it, Peeta becomes hysterical, saying that Katniss is planted by the Capitol to destroy the lower districts. Haymitch orders Prim to be taken out of the room, while Plutarch tells Katniss not to take things to heart, as this is a conditioned response. Later, Katniss goes to Alma and requests to be sent to the Capitol, but Alma refuses, saying they can't get into the Capitol unless they have control over District 2. So Katniss demands to be sent to District 2. On her way there, Gale tells her that he wishes Peeta would never recover, as he knows he doesn't stand a chance if he gets better. 30 minutes before landing, Katniss hears Gale and BT planning the strategy that involves bombing, which makes Katniss question whether they even value human life anymore. But Gale reminds her that Snow doesn't play by the rules. Upon reaching, they meet Corporal Holmes, who takes them to their strategy team, where Commander Lime explains that the Capitol's headquarters, called the Nut, is manned by both military and civilians of District 2. She adds that the fortress lies beneath the area, which makes it untouchable, as they sent troops yesterday and suffered heavy losses. One of the rebels suggests creating a decoy, but Commander Paler refuses to send her people on a mission that would cost too many lives. Gale suggests they disable the fortress, saying that they bomb the mountains near it to trigger an avalanche. BT adds that they should block all exits and cut their supplies, but Alma comments that this way the rebels will also lose the chance of getting weapons from the Nut. However, BT insists that it would weaken the Capitol. Boggs says that the civilians should be given a chance to surrender, making Gale bitter about how no such route was left for the people of District 12. Alma suggests that they leave the train tunnel open, with military forces awaiting the surrender. Later, as the hovercrafts start bombing, Katniss feels disturbed by the killings, despite Gale trying to explain that in war, killings aren't personal. She tells him that he has the same mentality as the Capitol, where they'd go to any length to protect their ideology. Rebels near them cheer when the avalanche is triggered, but the celebration of others' deaths makes Katniss uncomfortable. After that, they head to the tunnel site, and Haymitch reminds Katniss that she will be giving a speech to not only the rebels but the Capitol and the survivors in District 2, so she should speak with empathy. However, before she can start, the first train of survivors arrives, so the rebels quickly ask them to drop their guns. But one man refuses and gets shot by a rebel, so Katniss rushes to save him and asks the medics for help. But the man puts his gun to Katniss's neck, asking her to give one reason why he shouldn't kill her. Katniss tells him that they all have reasons to kill each other, but if they keep fighting amongst one another, Snow will keep winning. The man puts down his gun and Katniss tells everyone to turn their weapons towards Snow, but shockingly, one of them opens fire at her. Snow watches this encounter and raises a toast, saying that the rebels will reach the outskirts of the Capitol within a few days. He orders the ministers to evacuate the outskirts and let the rebels enter before showcasing their deaths on every TV, so they can turn their miseries into a celebration of suffering. However, Snow had poisoned Minister Antonius's drink as he played a role in sending the troops to the Nut. Meanwhile, Johanna visits Katniss, who is in the hospital, revealing that the bullet didn't even touch Katniss, as she was wearing a bulletproof vest and only suffered from bruised arms and lungs. Johanna questions why they haven't replaced her lungs yet, sarcastically commenting that it's everyone's job to keep Katniss alive. After she leaves, Haymitch tells Katniss to visit Peeta despite her repeated refusal. There, Peeta tells her that his life would have been much better if he had given the bread to the pigs instead of Katniss. Katniss heads to Alma, asking to be in the Capitol with the troops, but she refuses, saying that she has unified the districts and now she needs to rest. Elsewhere, Finnick gets married to Annie and Johanna tells Katniss that she and Peeta had adjacent torture cells. Katniss reveals that she is going to kill Snow, and she isn't going to tell anyone about it. So Johanna reveals that the medics are sending supplies to their camp in the Capitol at midnight. Later, Katniss sneaks into the hovercraft and lands at the front lines where people welcome her, and Gale takes her inside. Alma considers this insubordination and tells Plutarch to ensure that the world sees it as a planned move and not Katniss acting on her own. Meanwhile, at the front line, Commander Paler praises the soldiers for their unity and tells them that they must remain focused on their collective enemy, ensuring that they don't harm the civilians of the Capitol. She explains that to slow their advance, President Snow has built a minefield of traps with lethal devices called the pods to make a show out of their deaths. Despite the difficulties, she hopes that the armies will make it past the defense and gather at Snow's residence in the center of the Capitol to finally free Panem. Later, Katniss packs her meals and tells Gale that she is trying to prepare for the war, but he asks her to stop lying as he knows she is about to go off on her own. Suddenly, Boggs arrives with other members of Squad 451, which includes the League Sisters, 2nd Lieutenant Mitchell, Corporal Holmes, Lieutenant Jackson, and Finnick. The squad is told that they'd follow behind the main assault force rather than lead it, appearing on screen to motivate the masses, making Gale question if they won't be fighting, but Boggs tells him to follow orders instead of asking questions. Boggs tells them they are of high value, so the Capitol will try to capture them instead of killing them, and gives them a poison pill that acts immediately to protect them from suffering and manipulation. He explains that their unit has a device called Hollow that has a map of the Capitol and a detailed description of every pod, saying they can't move without the Hollow. but it has a self-destruct option, so the enemy doesn't know about them having this type of intel. They enter the capital, and the holo starts beeping when they get near a pod, so they ask Katniss to shoot an arrow, which triggers the fireblower. When the team is resting, Katniss tells Gale that they can't cross the minefield without the holo, so they decide to take watch that night. However, a truck drops Peeta at their location, and Boggs quickly orders Jackson to cuff him. Jackson tells them that they want to broadcast him to show the people that Peeta is now on their side, so she creates a rotation chart to keep an eye on him. Katniss goes to Boggs and tells him that Peeta would try to kill her, but Boggs reveals that Alma doesn't like people she can't control, so she wanted to save Peeta from the games instead of Katniss. He explains that the war is going to come to an end, after which there will be an election, and Alma has started to see Katniss as a competitor. He tells her that the only thing that can add more fire to the rebellion is Katniss's death, but he would protect her at all costs. That night, as Katniss watches Peeta, he tells her that she has called him multiple names ranging from a love to a capital's mutt, and he can't tell what's real anymore. Katniss starts telling him all the things he liked to do and eventually decides that she can't torture herself with the thought of old Peeta and goes to sit with Gale, who wonders if they are still going through with their plan of leaving the unit, but Katniss tells him that they need to secure the holo first. The next morning, Boggs hands an empty gun to Peeta for the show, and they run into another pod, which now turns into 2 machine guns when Boggs throws a stone at it. After that, Boggs goes to inspect the area, but gets into an explosion that blows off his legs, making him quickly give the command of the holo to Katniss before telling her not to trust anyone on the team. Boggs dies there, and a League sister rushes to the other one who is injured, but accidentally triggers the closure of all gates around, and a flood of hot charcoal. Peeta goes rogue and tries to push Katniss inside, but Mitchell comes to her rescue and gets thrown inside the charcoal. Finnick headlocks Peeta and they all rush to the top floor of a building, where the charcoal eventually slows down. Jackson demands the holo, but Katniss refuses, saying that Boggs gave it to her and lying that Alma sent her on a secret mission to kill President Snow. Jackson refuses to believe her, and as the new unit commander, she orders Katniss to transfer the command of the holo. When Katniss remains firm, Jackson pulls out her gun, making Gale and Finnick point their guns at Jackson. Cressida confirms that Plutarch wants to film the death of Snow so the capital can surrender before casualties get too high, and Jackson finally decides to support them. They rush out to another building, but the League sisters have to stay behind as one is badly injured, and their building is quickly blasted by the peacekeepers. Snow broadcasts the footage as mandatory viewing, announcing to all of Panem that Katniss has been killed. Peeta feels terrible for losing control and asks for the poison pill, but Gale tells him that if it comes down to that point, he would kill Peeta himself. Soon, President Snow gives a speech that with Katniss dead, the rebellion has no leader. However, his speech is intercepted by Alma, who tells Panem that Katniss turned slaves into fighters so in her memory the rebels would free Panem. Katniss asks about Snow's mansion, so Cressida shows them that he is 75 blocks north of where they are right now. She thinks it's the perfect chance as people think they are dead, so she suggests that they hide in the buildings watching over Snow's mansion so she can get a clear shot at him, but they face the hurdle of pods every 10 steps. However, Castor suggests underground tunnels, as his brother worked in the sanitation department for 5 years before he was taken out of the capital. Meanwhile, Snow is alerted about their survival as they are noticed by an underground camera. That night, during Katniss's turn to watch, Peeta tells her that the capital used Tracker Jack or Venom on him to blur his memories. He asks her if she is still trying to protect him, and she confirms it, saying that they both have been trying to keep each other alive since the first games. Once Peeta falls asleep, Katniss hears a distant rumbling and quickly asks Pollux about the fastest way out. They start to move and Pollux checks the area before signaling the others to follow him through a narrow opening. Most of them reach the other side, but just as Jackson is about to cross, they are attacked by genetically engineered reptilian mutts. They try to run, but many of them, including Castor, are attacked, forcing Cressida and Katniss to open fire. Katniss uses fire arrows, but the mutts are in large numbers and they almost get to Katniss. However, Peeta jumps in to rescue her. Gale shoots at them, but Peeta is soon cornered, so Katniss rushes after him. Finnick comes in with his trident and takes down several mutts while Cressida urges them to get out of there. Finnick helps Katniss escape, but he is dragged down and attacked by several mutts, resulting in his death. Katniss, having no other option, uses the holo to trigger an explosion, destroying the mutts. However, peacekeepers surround them just as they step out and open fire at them, so the group fights back while trying to escape as they are outnumbered. They barely manage to escape as the ground starts breaking behind them, and Cressida quickly guides them to a house owned by Tigress, a former stylist for the Hunger Games. Tigress hides them in her hidden basement, where Pollux mourns the loss of his brother, Castor. Upon seeing the condition, Katniss reveals that she lied about the special mission from Alma. taking the blame for everyone's death upon herself. Cressida tells her that they all knew she was lying, and Peeta comforts her, saying that Snow had control over the lives and deaths of people, but by killing Snow, Katniss can give meaning to all the lost lives. Just when they are about to rest, Peeta asks Katniss to cuff him as he still doesn't have complete control over himself. Later, she overhears Gale tell Peeta that he should have volunteered to go as a tribute instead of Peeta in the first games. But Peeta claims that Gale did better by staying behind and protecting Katniss's family. They eventually decide that if they make it out alive, Katniss will decide who she wants more. Suddenly, they hear mortar shells and realize that the capital must be bombing the rebels outside. Snow makes a mandatory announcement saying that he is welcoming all capital citizens to his mansion, as the enemy has never known their comfort and will not be kind to them. Cressida tells them that the mansion is about 5 blocks away, and that there is a high probability that the pods were disabled in this area for the protection of the capital's citizens. Gale is skeptical, as he thinks there will be too many peacekeepers, but Katniss believes there will be too many refugees near the mansion. Tigris gives disguises to Gale and Katniss, telling them to make sure they don't look up so they can blend into the crowd. Katniss says goodbye to Cressida and Pollux and urges Peeta to stay alive, while Gale gives him a poison pill to protect him from torture in case he is captured by the capital again. They quickly join the large number of people heading into the mansion as the loudspeakers command the crowd to move towards the presidential estate. After a while, a young girl recognizes Katniss but does not point her out. But Katniss sees peacekeepers checking the hooded figures. She turns around but sees more peacekeepers closing in on them from that side too, giving her no choice but to move forward. Subsequently, a peacekeeper puts a hand on her shoulder, but an explosion announces the arrival of the rebels, which distracts the peacekeepers as a full-fledged battle breaks out. Gale and Katniss take cover and snatch a gun off a peacekeeper to move towards the estate. They hide behind an armored vehicle which is hit with a rocket, causing it to flip over and separate Gale from Katniss, allowing the peacekeepers to arrest and take Gale away. Katniss moves ahead and gets on top of an armored vehicle from where she sees the peacekeepers prioritizing children over adults. But just then a jet passes over the crowd, releasing many small packages, which the crowd mistakes for gifts until they explode on contact, spreading chaos all around. When Katniss recovers from the impact, she sees Prim among the rebel medics trying to help the wounded. But another jet strike causes a big explosion, knocking Katniss unconscious as it sets her body on fire. Later, Katniss wakes up in a hospital bed as her mother treats her burns, while Haymitch informs her that the jet's bombing of the crowd turned Snow's men against him, because it targeted not only the citizens, but also the children of peacekeepers and palace guards, so the rebels managed to take the palace. Sometime later, Katniss visits the palace with Effie, who introduces Katniss to her new bedroom in the palace. As Katniss explores the place on her own, she notices an outhouse and goes out to investigate it, but guards stop her at the door. However, Colonel Paler orders them to let her through, and inside she finds Snow walking in a large garden, but he appears to be sick as he coughs up blood. He expresses sorrow over Prim's death before informing her that the bombing was actually almost planned to turn the guards against Snow, and it was televised for maximum impact. He asserts that Alma used both of them and is now going to replace him as the new dictator. Katniss refuses to believe this, but it's later confirmed by Gale, who turns out to be the pilot who dropped the bombs. Meanwhile, Alma Coin holds a meeting with the victors of the Hunger Games and announces herself as the interim president of Panem until the country is ready for a new election. Additionally, she offers the idea of holding a symbolic Hunger Games event using the capital's children instead of executing Snow immediately, which she thinks will satisfy the bloodlust of the angry citizens. The matter is put up for a vote, with Peeta and BT voting against it and other victors voting in favor of it, so the capital's children can suffer like them. Surprisingly, Katniss also votes in favor of it on the condition that she gets to execute Snow herself. Only Haymitch is left to vote, and he agrees with Katniss, so Alma has to accept their condition. After that, Effie dresses Katniss up for the event, and she secretly hides a vial in her suit. Later, Katniss steps up to execute Snow with arrows as he is tied to a pole in the middle of Tribute Avenue. Alma gives a speech about the end of wars and tyranny before she calls for Katniss to kill Snow, but Katniss instead shoots Alma Coin dead. Knowing the severity of the situation, Katniss is about to drink the vial full of poison, but Peeta snatches it in time while she is arrested by the guards. Meanwhile, Plutarch gives a smile of satisfaction from the stands, and the crowd rushes forth to beat Snow to death. After that, Katniss is put in a prison cell where Haymitch visits her, appreciating her courage and handing her a letter, wherein Plutarch praises Katniss's actions, but asserts that he can't take her side at such a delicate moment in Panem's history. So he has arranged to escort her out of the capital. He advises her to stay away until free elections are held in Panem and Colonel Paler is elected president, who will grant her a presidential pardon. The next day, Haymitch and Katniss bid farewell to Effie and take the train to District 12, where Katniss returns to her house in the Victor's village. Inside, she is lying on the couch alone when she hears some noise from the kitchen and goes in to find Buttercup, whom she tries to shoo away. But when her anger cools down, she takes Buttercup in her arms. Later, Katniss goes out to hunt in the woods and returns with a turkey, only to notice Peeta gardening in her yard. He tells her that he is planting primroses as Katniss hugs him. After that, she reads a letter from Annie, informing them that she is enjoying her time with her son, while Katniss's mom is training medical units in the capital. and Gale has become a captain in District 2. Later, Peeta, Katniss, and Haymitch have dinner together while they watch Colonel Paler take charge as the new president of Panem. Katniss starts to heal from her trauma as she enjoys watching the rain with Peeta and later confesses her love for him. Years later, Katniss holds a newborn son in her arms as she sits in a field while Peeta plays with their toddler. The baby wakes up and starts to cry, so she comforts him and tells him that she has nightmares too, but now she has learned to deal with them by making a list of all the good things she has witnessed. She agrees that it is a boring game, but says that there are far worse games to play. Thanks for watching this chronological recap to the very end. With a new movie coming out at the end of this year, rest assured this video will be immediately updated. As always, stay awesome, and I'll see you all on the next one.